And welcome back. We continue with Opinion Court, focusing now on corruption. Let's recap it with a story that we aired earlier. The U.S. government wants senior Kenya government officials implicated in the Ministry of Health scandal to step aside to pave way for investigations. The call by the U.S., which is a key donor to the ministry, came even as the CS and PS were subjected to marathon grilling by detectives and MPs over the scandal, as Hassan Mugambi reports.
Speaking in Kisumu, the U.S. ambassador to Kenya revealed that his office is investigating the scandal on irregular procurements at the Ministry of Health and asked those implicated to step aside pending investigations.
I have urged that immediate, thorough, and independent investigations and audits be carried out. That if anyone is responsible for corruption, if corruption is found, that those individuals be held accountable for it appropriately under Kenyan law.
In Nairobi, Health Cabinet Secretary Cleophas Mailu emerged out of a 6-hour grilling session at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission headquarters to say that he will not be resigning over the scandal. His Principal Secretary Nicholas Muraguri was in the meanwhile being taken to task by the National Assembly Health Committee on why the ministry cut down the maternity budget from 800 million to 530 million Kenya shillings.
So there was unspent balances, and we had a contract with this.
Well, I'm just asking our budget office to tell us, because if it happened, it must have passed through this.
He was also put to task to explain why he wrote a letter to Finance Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich seeking to remove the ministry's internal auditor.
Facts are facts, and that's what Nyikali is to tell us. Yes, it is not true.
The PS also refuted claims of threatening the journalist who broke the story. Hassan Mugambi, Citizen TV.
This, of course, is just one of the corruption scandals that has been in the public domain lately. Today, of course, we saw the NYS question being brought up again in Parliament. Joining my panel now to discuss this live via Skype is the Transparency International Executive Director, Samuel Kimeu. And here in studio next to me to my right is Professor Peter Kagwanja, who's a governance and politics expert. And to my left is Sakaja Johnson, who is a member of Parliament. I thank you all for joining us. Samuel, if you can hear me, let me begin with you. Are we any wiser, do you believe, following the public parliamentary investigations that we've been seeing into corruption?
Well, Anne, good evening. I have my doubts whether the parliamentary process is going to lead to accountability, and this is informed by what we have seen previously. This parliament has not done much in terms of holding anyone to account.
So what do you believe this is all about? Do you think it's just to create, seeming movement, but with heat and no light? Well,
I have reason to believe that this process is not going to yield much. And as I've said, it's because this parliament has not used the powers that are vested under the Constitution to hold people to account. So this process, in my view, is not going to yield much.
If Parliament was to be effective, what should it have done in regard to corruption?
Well, Parliament has a lot of powers to force compliance with its own directives. There is, of course, part of the findings that will need to be investigated by other agencies. But remember, Parliament controls the purse. It appropriates money, and if money has been stolen, if you go ahead and appropriate more money without action being taken, then it means that you are not really holding people to account where it matters.
All right, let me bring in Sakaja to the conversation, because you're a parliamentarian. What do you believe the value of these public hearings really is, and can it end up with sufficient evidence that can take a case to court?
I think, first of all, it's really unfortunate to hear the kind of indictment on a process that is currently ongoing by Parliament, by none other than the Transparency International, because it is really within Parliament's mandate. In fact, what we should hear from him is really how Parliament should improve its processes. Parliament, the kind of investigation that Parliament goes into is not the same type that the agencies charged with that really go into, the EACC or the DPP. Parliament is playing an oversight role as the body that appropriates funds to these institutions. And I think from the process that is has been aired live. Kenyans are watching it. The findings will be made public, and the report will be brought to be debated on the floor of the House. And I am confident that, because even if you listen to the committee, members across the political divide are saying where there is evidence of corruption, action must be taken. It is no longer a matter of one party versus another party, and we must remove the politics from it all. So I'm confident that yes, it can yield results. But of course, there are other institutions in this country. Parliament can never convict anyone. Parliament can never put you in a jail cell. You know,
but it can, as Samuel has said, you know, look at appropriations, financial ones, and you know, make a statement in that manner. You
see what Parliament does really when it looks at such a case is to see how to strengthen systems and to show who has been responsible. If you decide to use appropriations to punish those officers, you're not punishing them. You're punishing the people who would benefit from it. You know, so if there was an issue in the health ministry, and you're talking about maternity, you're talking about children, you're talking about HIV, by denying the health ministry funds, you're not punishing Muraguri, you're punishing those who would actually be the beneficiaries. So it is to identify that yes, there are certain individuals who probably could have been, involved. They need to be punished by the law if found to have been involved. But that doesn't mean you throw out the baby with the bathwater. And that means then Parliament can then make decisions on how to strengthen. We're looking at the financial management system in this country, and Parliament so is rightfully in its role. It's playing the role that it must play. But we must have, a certain level of optimism that this can yield results. But Kenyans want to see, what Kenyans want to see is simple: convictions. Parliament doesn't take anyone to jail. Kenyans want to see 2 or 3 people who are actually guilty, being convicted. Not convicted in the court of public opinion, because we're talking about interim reports, until it is final and it is clear that actually there was truly any misappropriation, then those people must be jailed. That's what Kenyans want to see.
And so what do you think of the statement by the U.S. ambassador today saying that people should be stepping aside over this health scam?
And I have also, I think I was probably the first parliamentarian to call for stepping aside, not because, not as an indictment to the individuals, but because when the interim report leaked, and whose final report, because when you have an interim report, it means that there are certain questions that have been asked. These questions are then answered in any audit process, and the international standard of auditing, the ICAs, are very clear. But because it came out in public, for public confidence, that individual would have moved aside for the full investigation to be completed and the management responses to be taken into account, and then if he is cleared, would have come back in. But you see, when based on an interim report, we already shout there has been a scandal, there is a scam, money has already been stolen, and the report itself does not say that, then I think we are taking the fight against corruption to be just about sensationalization and not about facts.
Professor Kagonja, is this fight against corruption bound to be a major campaign issue going into 2017?
I mean, picking up from where Honorable Sakaja has left, we need to distinguish between 2 things. One is the imperative to deepen institutions in this country. And institutions that are going to investigate corruption, are going to investigate other forms of crimes, and that are going to streamline our democracy to be a responsible democracy, so that us and the future generations will have systems against which we can be judged as good or bad citizens. That is one. 2, we need to stop the culture of politicizing every incident in this country. And this does not only apply to the opposition. Even diplomats need to get out of any politicization, because Kenya is a fragile democracy. It's new. We are just now for about 5 years or so since we really got what can be defined as democracy. So it's incumbent upon all our partners, it's incumbent all our leaders and our political class to be sensitive to the fact that we are nurturing a fragile democracy. And sensitization, for example, there are processes. One, you do know that in my profession, we talk about draft 0. Draft 0 is a document that cannot be circulated to the public because it's not fully cooked. It's very mature. When you say this is the final document, and Prof knows this, then you are saying this can now be debated in public. And when you say this is the report of, now that is legal and that is law. Anybody can be prosecuted against it. The debate we are having on the AFIA Center and related institutions, even earlier scams, are just issues debated in the court of public opinion. And I thought...
So to paraphrase what you're saying, saying, one, the U.S. ambassador is wrong in making that statement, he's playing politics, but second, are you also then answering my question and saying that, no, this corruption should not be a major campaign issue in 2017?
No, everywhere. I mean, this is not a ruling you can make over the television. In America, Clinton, Trump are both accused, both differently, of this or that. If you go to South Africa now, the politics is high on corruption. Zuma is under pressure. He's supposed to be doing this. In Kenya would be an exception if it was a democracy where there is no... there was this message which is very interesting, that China is even taking its civil servants to prisons to see where they will go if they are corrupt. So all the countries in the world are grappling with the problem of corruption. But the problem is when you turn it into an instrument of public or political mobilization, and then you use the court of public opinion instead of the real platforms where justice is dispensed, where investigations are being taken. What Parliament is doing is right. What if there is any other party like Amnesty International or Transparency International that want to investigate, it is also within their domain to do that. But let's do these things with the decorum, with the dignity, and with respect to our institutions.
Prof.
I think I agree with the position that Parliament has a duty to do its work. So there's no way that I would say Parliament won't do it. There's no other organ that can do oversight. But I don't agree with my brother saying that, we are politicizing the matter. Diplomats should give up, stop doing these things that, for example, the American ambassador has done, calling on people to resign. I think that the United States gives the Minister of Health a big budgetary support, so it will be interested on how the money is being spent. So I think the bottom line is not to go into the technicalities of how the message is being passed. The bottom line is...
The message is right?
Is this message correct? Has money gotten lost? And now, that's where I would go beyond Kimeo and not really just question, say that Parliament is failing. I would point out that this is not the first time, for example, former CS Waiguru is appearing before Parliament. So in my opinion, they are wasting our time, and these MPs are looking for allowances.
Oh my.
The allowances to increase. The reason why I'm saying that, and I speak it with passion, is the fact that they seem to already know how money got lost. So the bottom line is that Anne Waiguru repeated what she has said before. You should be worried about what she did not say and the signals she gave. That is what Parliament should be leading. They should not be calling Anne Waiguru again, or even Kabura, because these guys cannot even, they don't have the capacity to carry all this money on their own. Some people who are unstated must have participated in taking this money. So that is what the Parliament should be doing, and so that we close the chapter. But what we're doing, we are doing circles, and I would like to say that in this situation, therefore, look at what happened, the politics of it. On one hand, some MPs come there, they want to support one person. We were told they were haggling, and on the other hand, there were other MPs who were supporting this. So this has to come to an end, and we face the problem, we waste less time in dealing with the problem.
I want to thank Samuel Kimeo, who's been joining us live via Skype of Transparency International, its Executive Director. Thank you, sir, for your time. Finally, we'll just have a minute to talk about Jubilee's big meeting tomorrow, which has a lot of anxious people waiting in the wings, wondering who will be named party officials, if we'll hear that announcement at all tomorrow. What can we expect from this meeting that will be chaired by the President, Sakaja?
I don't know who's anxious, probably the media. It's really a routine.
Former office holders.
Yeah, it's really a routine meeting. Yes, I'm a former office holder. That is true. And of course, as you know very well, I am gearing up to run for the governorship of Nairobi, and so my focus is on my campaign and the president's campaign. And I think it has been clear to all of us that we're looking for a fresh team that can take the party to the next level. Those of us who've done our time, we believe we've done well. Of course, the jury is still out on that, but it's really a National Governing Council meeting. which brings together all elected officials, the president and the deputy, who are also officials of the party, to come and discuss, in which formation are we, and as we move towards the next election, how prepared will we be, who are the ones who will be on the reins, as we move towards, we want a professional team. You might not see a lot of those who are vying in those seats.
And so you're not expecting your name to be called out?
No, I think I've been very clear even on this show. That my focus is on the city, So it is not like a prize giving day and you're waiting to hear who is number one.
But it is a prize.
But not necessarily. It's a responsibility, and many of us who've been there have served the responsibility. I would not want to be the Mugabe of Kenyan politics and being chairman for 30 years. But the team that is going to come, I'm sure, will be able to take us to the next level. We're changing the game. It's a political game changer, how we're going to structure Jubilee.
Is this a potentially...
I don't know if profile
it's going to change the game. Is this a potentially exclusive issue in as far as making sure that everybody who had their parties collapse to form into this one mega party is actually satisfied and is willing to go the hog? Do you think that we might see people disenfranchised and saying, look, there are other options out there. There's PNU, there's KANU, there's Maendeleo, Chap Chap, etc. if they don't get what they want?
I don't think so. Because if you're talking about the strongholds of the president, which is the Mount Kenya region and Rift Valley and Coast and Western and other parts.
Is that true?
Well, we are not on a research. If you look at the stronghold, the main thing is that we are trying to consolidate the party. I think the main challenge for the party is not in terms of where it goes or where it doesn't go. It is internal. It is internal democracy. And all the parties are willing and ready to stay in and stay the course. And I think the party's main challenge and agenda, I guess, is to consolidate that internal democracy so that nominations are as good as the final election. Why? Because in those areas, if you are nominated justifiably, then you go that. I have argued before that if the party doesn't do that, then what happens is that those who feel unfairly disenfranchised will seek alternative parties. And that is what will be the tragedy of PNU.
So it is potentially exclusive.
It is not potentially exclusive.
Jubilee has
if they
never
feel
been
disenfranchised, you can still seek out other parties.
No, Jubilee has never been about individuals.
No.
It's about the cause why we've come together and collapse parties to unite this country. That is what we're about. It's not about who gets what. It's about how we drive this agenda together.
We certainly hope so, Prof. Final view.
My final view is that the people who will cause some commotion after tomorrow's naming of officials are those who didn't understand from the beginning why Jubilee Party was formed. So those are the people that will have problems. But those who understood it will not have any problems.
So
what I'm saying is that after tomorrow's naming, those who didn't understand might even decide to walk out. But the people who will be named tomorrow, you can be sure of one thing. The formation of the Jubilee Party was about only one personality, Uhuru Kenyatta. So those who are going to be named tomorrow are those who can protect the political interests of Uhuru Kenyatta in 2017 and beyond.
I don't agree.
Anything else? Zero. No. Don't even Ruto is nothing.
You don't agree. All right.
Yeah, I am not doing public relations for your party.
We're out of time, and we've got to go. But I thank you all for your views very much. We're taking a break, and we're back with business.